Welcome to the Credit Concept Podcast. I am your host, Credit Coach Nicole Scott, and in today's episode of the Credit Concept Podcast, we are going to be covering how to repair your credit. Now, mind you, you don't need to hire a credit repair company unless you simply don't have the time. Repairing credit is something you can totally do on your own. I have all of the tools that are available on my website, whether you need to purchase some template dispute letters or you just simply need a little bit of extra guidance. But in today's episode, we're going to be covering everything that you need to know in order to repair your credit. This is the same thing that I do for my clients to get them the results. So if you have not by now, make sure that you have subscribed to the podcast on YouTube. You have subscribed to Instagram, Credit Coach Nicole Scott. You can also find me on Facebook at Credit Coach Pros. But make sure that you are listening to this podcast wherever podcasts are available. You can also head to the description where I have left all of the links to connect with me, to get a copy of your credit reports, and most importantly, to visit my website. You can find a bunch of different ebooks and letter kits and everything that you are going to need in order to repair your own credit. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Now, if you follow me on YouTube, you already know that I have an entire playlist that is called the Credit Repair Training Playlist. And I highly recommend that you watch some of these videos because it is going to bring a lot of clarity behind the concept of credit repair, because there are a million ways to do things in this world and everyone has their own unique way of doing things. But we want to simplify the process because it's really not that hard, and we want to make sure that we are giving you the basic simplicity ways and processes to go ahead and optimize your credit score, so that way you don't have to pay someone thousands of dollars for something that you can totally do yourself. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to your credit score, you are the one that has full control over what your credit score is, and it's just a matter of understanding the concept behind credit and understanding the concept behind credit repair. So you all know that I use a software by the name of Credit Repair Cloud. And mind you, if you are just repairing your credit for yourself, this is not something that you would need to purchase unless you want to speed up the process. There is a 30-day trial that is free. So if you want to sign up for the 30-day free trial, you can most certainly do so. I'll leave a link in the description. But the concept behind it is that this software is simply a tool to help you generate all of these letters in a faster manner. So what we are doing is we are going to be getting a copy of our credit reports, and I recommend getting your credit reports with Smart Credit. And Smart Credit is going to provide you with all three of your credit reports from Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax side by side. So you can literally go through and see what the differences are on your credit reports, so you can pinpoint exactly what it is that you need to dispute. And you can highlight all of the data that is in fact inaccurate, incorrect, misleading, outdated, maybe it's fraudulent, whatever the case may be. You have an idea of how this information is being reported from the creditors to the credit bureaus. And sometimes credit bureaus have outdated or information that is just simply not accurate. And those are great ways to either get that information updated or get it fully removed from your credit report. So step one, let's go ahead and get our credit reports from Smart Credit. And once we log into Smart Credit, we are going to view our credit reports in classic view. So you would head up to where it says credit reports. You're going to get your 3B. That's 3B as in bureau, 3 bureau credit reports. And once you view the 3 bureau credit reports, you're actually going to click on classic view. Once you click on classic view, it's a button at the top right of the screen. That is going to allow you to view the credit reports in what's considered a classic view. And it's going to be each of the bureaus side by side. So you can literally just go down the list and create your dispute letters. Or if you're one of those people that says, hey, I'm better with printing and highlighting and getting this done by hand, that's fine. Go ahead and print your credit report and you can highlight all of the errors and inconsistencies. And the first thing that we want to start with is the personal information. The personal information, we want to make sure that they have our correct name and our correct address. If they have any old jobs or any old information that is just simply not correct, or if they have any addresses where you're like, hey, this address is not my address, you need to go ahead and get that cleaned up first. The easiest way that you can do that is you can simply write them a letter and say, hey, my personal information that you have listed on my credit report is inaccurate. My correct and only name and address is this. My only correct employer is this. Now, here are some gems that you really want to take note of. If you are an entrepreneur or a business owner, you never want to put that you are self-employed. Self-employed is considered a high risk, so you always want to list the name of your business, okay? Because at the end of the day, you are self-employed, but there is a business behind that self-employment. They don't need to know that, you're a 1099 or that you're the owner of the business. You just want to list out that, hey, this is the business that I get money from, whether that's employment or whether that's me being the business owner. Either way, you're getting paid from this business name. As far as the titles, you want to stick with something that is professional, like an operations manager. You never want to put that you're the owner or the president or anything like that. I would stick with something general like operations manager or simply manager. Those are fine. Now, let's move on. If you have any sort of personal statement, and personal statements are going to be listed under your consumer statement on your credit profile. They are absolutely not necessary. If you have any sort of consumer statement, you want to get that removed from your credit profile. And sometimes there will be consumer statements listed on your credit report from maybe if you got credit repair in the past, or if you've called the credit bureaus and you told them that you disagreed with something. Whatever the case may be, you want to make sure that your personal statement or your consumer statement has nothing listed. Less is better in this case. We want to keep it simple. And a lot of times, if you have received credit repair in the past, or if you have disputed something on your credit report in the past, there might be some sort of fraud alert or something to the lines of that you don't agree with something, or that you've been a victim of fraud. And even if you have been a victim of fraud, I highly recommend that you remove that, because you can always freeze your reports until you are ready to apply for something. But the concept behind this consumer statement is, if you do have a statement that says that you've been a victim of identity theft and they have to call you to verify your identity prior to, giving you or approving you for credit, then that is going to be, sometimes an automatic denial unless you call the reconsideration line, and that's a whole nother topic. So it can really put, a wedge between you getting those instant approvals, especially late at night when it's really good to apply for credit cards. You want to make sure that you don't have anything that's on your credit report that would prevent them from instantly approving you. Okay. Now, once you have removed the consumer statement, and sometimes it can be very challenging removing the consumer statement because you can try to call the credit bureaus and have them do it over the phone. But in this case, since it is personal information and it is something that they would consider to be serious, they don't want just anyone calling in to try to correct this information for you. So you would need to send a written request to the credit bureaus, being Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, or whatever credit bureaus have the consumer statement listed for you, and simply say, please remove the consumer statement from my credit report. Or you can say something to the lines of, Dear Experian, you have a fraud alert under my consumer statement. Please remove this statement from my credit report. I never asked you to place this on my credit report. This is a violation. I demand you remove any and all consumer statements and or fraud alerts from my credit report. It can be that simple, okay? What you need to send with these letters, very important. Make sure that you pay attention. And again, if you have to listen to this more than once, please do so, because that's why I do these videos and these podcasts, is for you guys to get the information so you can be empowered to do these things on your own. And hell, you can even, I can't say that word, but heck, you can even help your community, your family, your friends, your children, everyone around you once you understand the concept behind credit. So you're going to be sending in some supporting documentation with all dispute letters, whether it's asking for them to update your personal information or remove the consumer statement. Whatever the case is, I highly recommend you send in a copy of your photo ID. This can be a state ID card, a driver's license, or a passport, okay? You also want to send in a copy of your social security card. This is going to help them validate who you are because it has your full social security number on it. And obviously, if someone else is calling on your behalf, they're probably not going to have that, or sending letters in on your behalf. They wouldn't have that. So that's going to help them solidify who you are and help authenticate you so they can actually make these updates for you. And last but not least, you want to go ahead and send in what's called proof of address. And proof of address is any sort of statement, utility bill, any sort of documentation that has your name and your address. Some great examples of items that I have used for my clients are a bank statement, a W-2 form or tax returns, let's see, there's so many different things, a utility bill, a copy of your electric bill, a copy of your cable bill. So those are some great options. A lot of you guys can just get those things right online, like a bank statement, because the concept behind it is for them to just be able to verify this is who you say you are and this is my true and only address. Because sometimes we have addresses that are old and outdated on our driver's license. So if you do have an old and outdated driver's license, you can still send in your dispute letters. You just want to send in that proof of residency, which is proof of address. So, and of course, if you do have outdated info on your driver's license, I always recommend people get that updated just so they will get a copy of that. Because whenever you update your address with any sort of like DMV, which is a government agency, that information is reported to data companies. They, of course, will eventually get that information over to the credit bureaus. So it will probably appear on your credit report anyways, but you just want to make sure that you only have one name and one address, and make sure that your name is spelled correctly. Make sure that your address is put onto the credit report correctly. You want to make sure that everything is 100% correct. So we've covered the personal information, which is going to be at the very top, and that's step 1. We've covered consumer statement and why it's so important for you to not have any sort of consumer statement listed on your credit report. Okay. Now what we are going to be doing is we're going to go through our credit report and look at all of the accounts, and we're going to highlight or circle or do whatever it is that you feel is fit for the process that you're doing this. Okay. And we're going to basically highlight all of the negative accounts. So any type of account that says the word derogatory, any account that says collection, any account that says charge off, we want to go ahead and we want to highlight those items so that way we can generate a dispute letter to the credit bureau that it is listed with, and also the creditor or bank or institution or collection agency that is reporting that information to the credit bureaus, because you have to understand the concept. The credit bureaus are getting this information from somebody, right? And whether that source is accurate or not, we just don't know. The credit bureaus don't know because they don't double check it. They have millions of records and billions of records that they deal with. So once something gets initially reported, sometimes it never updates, it never changes. So we always want to make sure that we are being diligent and we are making sure that the information that is reported on us, which is, on our credit report and our adult, report card, we want to make sure that this information is accurate, because we all know how many mistakes happen in life. Okay. And I mean, the credit bureaus get sued all the time for mistakes that they make and for reporting inaccurate information on people's credit reports. But it's up to us to look at these accounts and look at this data and ensure that, okay, this is correct. And mind you, there's a few things that we need to look at to make sure that, this was last updated recently, or maybe it hasn't quite updated yet. So under the accounts, when you're looking at them, you're going to see that there are different pieces of information for each of those accounts. It's going to give you the date last updated, the date of last payment. We want to make sure that all of these fields are correct. And if they are not, highlight them, because sometimes the credit bureaus are not getting the updates. They're not getting the correct information. And we can simply dispute that. And you don't necessarily have to, go into severe detail at first. But if you go to our letter library, which is in the description below, we have a dispute letter library, and you can find there's hundreds of different dispute letters, and you can always adjust them to fit your needs. But we're going to dispute it with the credit bureau that has it listed. And sometimes not every credit bureau will have every account listed. So that's why it's important to look at the Smart Credit Report and see, this is not reporting on Equifax. It's only reporting on TransUnion. Therefore, you only need to dispute this information with the bureau that it is reporting to. And you also need to dispute it with the creditor. And the great thing about the Smart Credit reports is at the very bottom of your credit reports, they are required by law to list all of the contact information for each creditor or account that is listed on your credit report. So their telephone number and their address will be listed at the very, very bottom of your credit report. So you can use that contact information to write them a dispute letter and validate the information that is being reported. Now, there are a few ways that you can go about this. You can do what's called a debt validation letter, which is a general purpose letter just to help them validate the account, because sometimes they're not even able to validate the information. So therefore, if they are not able to validate or verify the information is 100% accurate, they are required by law to delete the information from your credit report. And a lot of times the credit bureaus don't necessarily validate or verify the information with the creditors. So what you can do is send proof into the credit bureaus. So if you have any sort of supporting documentation that this information is wrong, outdated, then you can send that in with your dispute letters in addition to your ID, your social card, and your proof of address. Okay? Now, you can even go a step further. Say, for example, you have your credit reports. You can take a screenshot of that account on your credit reports and say, hey, Experian, where are you getting or how are you verifying this information? Because clearly it is inaccurate. Please take a look at the information that Equifax is reporting. Equifax has the information, and by law, you are required to report 100% accurate information or delete this from my credit report immediately. And I demand that you delete this account from my credit report since it is inaccurate. And that is your right under the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Now, I also have an ebook which has a bunch of different laws that we can use inside of our dispute letters that are going to help you get these deletions, okay? Now, there is what's called the Cornell Law website, and you can verify all of this information on the Cornell Law website, and in my ebook, everything is linked. So you can literally not take my word for it, but use what the law is saying. And the law does have a lot of gray areas, so it allows a lot of opportunity for you to get the law and use it to your advantage inside of your dispute letters. So you can go to the description. I'll leave a link for the Fair Credit Reporting ebook, which is called Learning the Law, and it is very easy to understand even for someone that really doesn't understand any of this. Or if you're like, heck, I don't have time, then a lot of the law verbiage is already used inside of our dispute letters. And what I've done inside of my credit repair dispute letter library is I have created a list, and it's in Google Docs, and it is the top letters that we use for different situations, which include personal info, bankruptcies, collections, charge-offs, late payments, you name it, we've got it in there. Because a lot of these, dispute letters just use the concept of, hey, we're just being general at first. We don't need to go into severe detail. And it's a simple process. Now, any type of late payment, obviously, we want to dispute those with the creditor first, if it is an open account. But late payments are to be handled a bit differently. Everything else, inquiries, collections, charge-offs, all of those things, they can go on some of the general dispute letters, and I also have inquiry removals. So we'll get to inquiries in just a minute. But as far as collections and charge-offs and all of the negatively listed accounts on your credit profile, you just want to make sure that the account name, the account number, a brief description as to why you are disputing it, which can be as simple as, this data is inaccurate. This is an error. This is, whatever the case may be, but just try to keep it simple. I always say this account is unknown. This account data is unknown. This account data is fraudulent. This account data is inaccurate. Whatever verbiage you want to use, that's perfectly fine. You just want to tell them why you're disputing it, and then you want to follow up with an instruction on what you would like done about it. So this account data is unknown. Please delete it from my credit profile immediately before I proceed with litigation. And that is going to get their attention, because the last thing that they want to do is proceed with any sort of litigation. For them, a lot of times it's going to be easier for them to just take it off your credit report versus having to get sued or go through all of these different things, because again, they're dealing with so many different situations. So keep it simple. You don't have to go into a ton of detail, although our dispute letters are very detailed and include a ton of different pieces of the law that can back up all of the claims that they could ever, come back and say, oh, well, this is not really applicable, or whatever the case may be. So we're going to dispute all of the collections. with the credit bureau that are reporting it and the creditor that is reporting that to the credit bureaus. Okay. Then we're going to go through and we're going to take a look at our payment history. Now, Smart Credit is going to give you the last 2 years of payment history. So if you see anything that has a 30, a 60, or a 90, that means that you were either 30, 60, or 90 days late. And we want to dispute that, and let's go into how we dispute late payments. Now, late payments are one of the hardest things to get corrected from your credit report, because at the end of the day, a lot of times the credit bureaus are going to tell you to contact the creditor because they are the ones that reported it. So there's a few different things that we need to look at. Now, if a late payment is with an account that is closed, then we would just want to try to get that entire account removed from your credit profile so you can literally add that account to any sort of, dispute letter that would be for a collection or a charge off. Because at this point, we don't care. It's got a late payment on it. It's closed. So, who cares if it gets deleted? That's our goal, really, is to get it deleted from our credit report. So go ahead and just dispute that like normal. List the account name, the account number, let them know that the account data that is being reported is an error, and you demand that they delete it immediately before you have to proceed with litigation. Okay. Now, where it gets tricky is late payments that are on open accounts, meaning, say, for example, you have a credit card and it is open and you had a late payment a year ago. Well, we want to see if we can potentially get that late payment corrected and updated to paid as agreed. Those are the magic words. Because when you're applying for something, no one wants to see that you were late paying your bills. And that's why it's so important for you to make sure that all of your credit accounts are paid on time to the credit bureaus. And you have reminders in your phone, you have everything on auto pay for the minimum, and you can always pay additional money as the month goes on. But with late payments on open accounts, I would not recommend disputing it with the credit bureaus first. I would recommend trying to go the route where you are asking the creditor or the bank or the credit card company to provide you with what's called a goodwill adjustment letter. Okay, a goodwill adjustment letter. And we have a ton of different goodwill adjustment letters inside of our letter library. We also have a ton of dispute letters for late payments that were during COVID. Okay, and those can be protected under the CARES Act. Sometimes you have to send letters multiple times, and that's why a lot of times you might hear people talk about, well, this is round 1 of my letters and round 2 of my letters. There's no certain letter that's specifically for round 1, round 2, or round 3. What that means is that you just have to be consistent and persistent. And month 1, when we start our credit repair process, our first round of letters is just the first set of letters that we sent out. And then round 2 is going to be the second set of letters that we send out. There's no particular letter that is going to be, a one size fits all. But in my letter library, we do have round 1, round 2, and round 3 just to help keep it simple for you. And of course, you can always modify these letters to fit your needs. So again, the concept behind disputing this information is to challenge it because it is either inaccurate or it doesn't belong to you or whatever the case may be. You want to continue to challenge this information to the credit bureaus and to the creditors. Even if they tell you, no, this is validated, continue to challenge it. Now, there are things that you can do if you are in a rush. So I know a lot of people say, don't pay your collections, don't do that. But if it is holding you back from purchasing your home, or if you are going to be applying for something, and obviously, collections are going to play a huge role in whether or not you might get approved, which, a lot of times is buying a bigger purchase like a home or an auto loan, then you would want to go ahead and just say, look, is this something that I did? Is this debt validated? I always validate it or, challenge it or dispute it. They all mean the same thing, but I always dispute it first. And then if they are able to verify that it does in fact belong to me, they have all the information on file, then at that time, we can do a settlement offer. Settlements are really good for those accounts that are low balances owed and we know that they belong to us. And at this point, those accounts are literally just holding us back. And you're probably going to spend more time, effort, and resources trying to get those deleted versus saying, hey, let me see if I can just make a settlement offer so my account that is affecting me can either be deleted or be updated to reflect that you don't owe them any money. And at the end of the day, that's what creditors want to see. If at one point the account was derogatory or it was negative, you took responsibility and you corrected the problem. You settled, you took care of it, you paid it, and now it is updated to reflect a zero balance. Or our goal with this is for the third party that is reporting it, whatever collection company is reporting it or trying to collect, we want to do what's called a pay for deletion, where we will pay you the alleged balance that you say I owe, even though I don't agree with it. I just want to get this behind me because it's affecting my credit, and I know if I settle this account, it can be the difference of me getting approved or denied, right? So if I do what's called a pay for deletion, you can do that with third parties. You cannot do a pay for deletion with original creditors. So if an original creditor, like say for example, you have a Capital One account and you defaulted on it and it got sent to collections, you might have Midland Funding trying to collect. Now you could probably do a pay for deletion with Midland Funding, but you would need to be ready to pay the balance or the settlement amount that you guys agreed to in full in exchange for them to delete the account from your credit report. And that's just an example. Not every third party is going to be willing to delete the account, but after you pay it and it's a zero balance and they're no longer trying to actively collect on that account, it's going to be a lot easier to get it deleted from your credit report by just disputing it with the credit bureaus. So you can take that for what you will, but again, staying persistent and consistent when it comes to challenging these items on your credit is really the concept behind credit repair. Is don't give up. They are going to tell you no. They're going to make it hard and discouraging for you. And sometimes it might take 6 months. Sometimes it might take a year, but continue to challenge this negative information. Try to get it corrected. Try to resolve any, accounts that are holding you back, because at this point, you're just trying to move forward. And if you go and try to apply for a home, it's really going to affect you if you have collection accounts and charge-offs and things like that. So, every account is a bit different. And if you feel like you need additional coaching, you can always schedule a coaching call with myself. And if you feel like you just don't have the time to do this, you can reach out, schedule a free call using the link in the description, and we can talk about it more. But the concept behind it is to dispute the information, provide whatever supporting document you have. If you've been a victim of identity theft, you will need to provide supporting documentation of that. Whether that is a police report, whether that is an identity theft affidavit that you have notarized. You can download those from the internet. If you could just Google identity theft affidavit, you can also do a truth affidavit in which you can get notarized by a public notary and send a copy of that into the credit bureaus and the creditors so they can remove that from your credit profile. I would also recommend filing some sort of complaint with the FTC, which is the Federal Trade Commission. FTC.gov has an identity theft part, which is identitytheft.gov, and you can file a complaint with them and list out all of the accounts that do not belong to you and that you are in fact disputing as not being yours. Okay, now let's get on to the last part of the credit report, which is where we're going to be talking about credit inquiries. And credit inquiries are very simple, because if you have a credit inquiry and it is not associated with any sort of account that you have a relationship with, you want to dispute that inquiry. You can put it on one of our dispute letters that are specifically for inquiries, or you can put it on one of your other dispute letters that you're using for collections. So it's really up to you. We do have some inquiry dispute letters in our letter library, and again, the link for our letter library is below. And you want to just list out the account name and the account date. So again, the name as it is reported on your credit report. So literally you're going to use the same information that is on your credit report and just literally copy and paste it onto your letters, okay? And you also want to include the date of the inquiry that is reported on your credit report, okay? We're using the same information that is on our credit report because Smart Credit is getting this information directly from the credit bureaus. So this is exactly what the credit bureaus have on file for you. So we're going to be using the information that they have on file versus what you might think, because this is what they have on record for you. And we're just going to list the name and the date of the inquiry and let them know that there was no permissible purpose or other reason why this inquiry should have been placed on your account, on your credit report. Okay, so you can dispute any inquiries that you don't have accounts with. Okay, and if you want to go a step further and say, hey, I didn't do all these inquiries. Maybe someone got a hold of your information. You definitely also want to put the inquiry name and the inquiry date on some sort of formal report that has a report number, or put it on some sort of truth affidavit, like an identity theft affidavit that you get notarized, because a public notary is an officer of the court. So the credit bureaus and the creditors are going to take it, a little bit more serious. That would be considered, supporting documentation. Now, when it comes to disputing with the creditors with inquiries, I don't think that it is necessary for you to do that right off the bat, because at this point, it's the credit bureau's job, and you can just let the credit bureaus know that you've already reached out to the creditor and let them know that you never authorized this credit inquiry. And let me just kind of give you an example here. I had went to a store and they asked me if I wanted to apply for a credit card, and normally I always say no because I don't want to get any additional inquiries on my credit. But in this case, I was going to save, and it made sense for me because, of what the store was. I shop there often, and I'm able to manage it. But I don't necessarily recommend store credit cards, because then you're more inclined to spend the money that you don't have. But if you can manage it properly, if you have the money to spend and you're going to earn rewards and so on and so forth, by all means, do it. But don't spend money you don't have on the credit cards. So at any rate, the lady told me, do you want to apply for this card today? You'll save, I think it was like 30% or something. And it made sense. So I said, sure. And she goes, don't worry. It's not a hard inquiry. It's just a soft pull. And if you guys know the difference between a hard pull and a soft pull, is whenever we pull our credit reports, like if we go to Smart Credit and pull our credit reports, it is considered a soft pull. Anytime an inquiry does not show on your credit report, it's a soft pull. Anytime Credit Karma pulls your credit report, it's a soft pull. So these are all people that have accessed your credit report, but that it's not considered a hard inquiry. So it does not affect your credit score. Well, it was not a soft pull. It was in fact a hard inquiry. So I actually disputed with the credit bureaus based on that information. Hey, the lender told me that this would not be a hard pull, and the only reason why I agreed to open an account with them is because they advised that this was going to be a soft pull. Now, you don't need to go into detail because, again, less is better, and a lot of times they don't read your entire response, and sometimes it's a computer system, which is called the eOscar system. So you want to just keep it very simple simple, short, and to the point. If an inquiry is unauthorized, it's unauthorized. You can simply say this inquiry from this name on this date was unauthorized and I demand you remove it from my credit report. You can call the credit bureaus and request inquiries to be removed over the telephone as well. Inquiries are about the only thing that I recommend that you dispute over the phone without sending in a prior letter. You can always call and follow up based on a physical letter and physical proof that you have sent to the credit bureaus, but a lot of times they're just not very helpful. So it's going to be, somewhat of a waste of time if you haven't already sent them the documentation with, your dispute letter, your your photo ID, your proof of address, your social security card. So that way they're able to verify that they, did receive it, they have it on file, and you can just call them and say, hey, look, I'm disputing this information. You need to get it off my credit profile. Inquiries, again, those are the easiest to dispute over the phone, but everything else, I would just send in a dispute letter if I were you, and then you can always follow up after you have sent that information to the credit bureaus. So only thing other than that is, of course, public records. And public records are oftentimes bankruptcies. Sometimes there's tax information that's on there. Any sort of public record information that you have listed, you also want to dispute that. And I have a whole video on how to remove a bankruptcy. I also have an ebook on my website on how to remove a bankruptcy and the letters that we actually use that have gotten our clients' bankruptcies removed from the credit bureau. So that's a different, process, but the concept is all there. Again, you just want to dispute it with the credit bureaus that are reporting it, and you also want to dispute it with the data source that is reporting it to the credit bureaus. And that's the concept behind it when it comes to, doing what we would consider a credit sweep, okay? And a credit sweep is literally just you sweeping your credit by disputing and challenging all of the negative information that is reported on your credit report with all three of the credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, and disputing it with the source in which they received it. So that is going to be the creditor or the collection company or maybe a third-party reporting company. When it comes to third-party reporting companies, you can certainly opt out, but I always tell people you want to deal with the root of the problem. And in this case, if you have negative information on some of your third-party credit reporting reports, then you want to get those corrected same way you would with Experian, TransUnion, or Equifax. You can request a copy of your report directly from that agency. So Innovis, LexisNexis, a lot of these third-party collection companies, you can go to their website and you can request a copy of your consumer report, and you can challenge and dispute the information that is listed on that report. So it's the same concept behind, fixing your credit report with the three major credit bureaus. Now, Innovis is important because Innovis is kind of like the fourth largest data firm, and they were at one point considered the fourth credit bureau, but they do not have what's called a credit score. So if you request your report, you just want to make sure that you're disputing it. If you have trouble getting bank accounts opened with banks, then you want to request a copy of your CheckSystems report. So you can go to checksystems.com and request your report because that's who the banking industry uses. Another popular banking report, it would be considered early warning. You can go to their website and you can request a copy of what they have on file for you. And again, if it's something small like $35 or couple $100 fee that you owe and you know that you owe it, just pay it. Just get it behind you. Clear that up, make the payment so that way you can bring your account into good standing. That's the concept behind all of this. You want to bring all of the accounts that are affecting you in a negative manner into good standing. And you don't necessarily have to agree or, say that this is, your debt, but you're saying, hey, I don't agree with this alleged debt. However, I want to make a payment and I want to clear this up and settle this because it's affecting me, and you can deal with it later. But at this point, how much is it really costing you for them reporting, a $200 collection, or, whatever the case may be. So you just have to figure out what's going to be best for you. And of course, you can always challenge these items. Or if you say, heck, I know I owe this debt, then settle the account. Come up with some sort of settlement offer that you can provide to the creditor that's going to make sense for both of you. And sometimes it does take some negotiations, okay? Sometimes it does take multiple phone calls, you speaking with a manager. So just keep that in mind. But the concept behind it all is that you want to challenge the items that are affecting you. You want to settle the items that are affecting you so you can just move forward with your life and start building credit so you can get approved for bigger and better things. And on the next episode, we're going to be talking about some of the credit building options that you have when it comes to building credit and how to build credit, okay? Because we want you to understand the concept behind credit. And that's what this podcast is all about. So I appreciate you guys staying locked in till the end of this thing, because I know sometimes I can ramble on, but hey, this is all great information that I wish was available to me for free when I first started. And this is why I do this, so you guys can understand the concept behind credit, because there's so many different myths out there. There's so much information that isn't necessarily very clear out there. So I want to bring the concept behind credit to you guys so you can make the best decision based on your situation and just move forward and understand it all. So if you haven't by now, make sure that you have subscribed to my YouTube channel, Credit Coach Nicole Scott, and go to the links in our description where you can get everything that was discussed in this podcast. We also have a credit course that just came out for personal credit, and it does touch a little bit on, starting a credit repair business. And then we also have our business credit course for those of you that are looking to build credit under your EIN. So not only do we talk about personal credit, but we'll get into some business credit things. So make sure that you listen to this podcast, subscribe wherever you get podcasts, and make sure to share it with a friend. Share it on your social media pages. You can simply share the video with Facebook groups and your colleagues so they can get a better understanding of the concept behind credit, and we can continue to help as many people raise their credit scores by just making some simple adjustments in their life. Again, guys, I am your host, Credit Coach Nicole Scott. You can follow me on Instagram and, of course, YouTube. Until next time, guys, I wish you the best.